So happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Well, apparently we all know John Sarver was convicted, and but he was not convicted of murder, homicide, or murder to it. There was no murder in the conviction, in the title of the conviction. The conviction was party to the crime, which is blows my mind because of the fact that if it was party to the crime, who was the killer? Who killed Eleanor Roberts? Basically, he knows who killed him, but he won't give it up. These people are keeping him behind bars, and he won't give up the names of the people that killed this woman. Dude, when is your righteous... Dude, that's just stupid. I would never do time for something I didn't do. I would never, I don't care how scared I was. I may be scared, but I could always go into hiding, if I had to. I could leave the state. Turn the people in that killed this woman. Party to the crime. But see, he was the only one arrested, the only one charged, and the only one in court. See, murder 1, murder 2, and homicide have a statute of limitations on it in Wisconsin, and that would be 40 years, and it's been 40 years. So they had to charge him with something, right? Or convict him of something. How can you even consider a party to the crime if there was someone else involved? Now, the evidence that did come back that they didn't release to the public or release to court that I got a hold of, it's a possibility, very big possibility, that Marshall and Lon Roberts, the family members, had something to do with the actual murder. And John knew this, and he's still protecting them, saying that they had nothing to do with it. And he's also protecting Brian Illingworth, which he's already admitted was involved in the Deidre Week case, the killing and the cover-up. So what's to say he wasn't involved in the Eleanor Roberts killing? They found him. They got him on party to the crime because some guy come up and said, I had a dream that this happened. They convicted this man because one of the witnesses get up there and say, I had a dream that this happened. This is how it happened in my dream. And they actually took that as actual hardcore facts in the John Sarver case. His name was Harold or something like that. I don't know what the hell his name was. That whole case is, the whole case is irrelevant. They had no actual facts. They had nothing. They couldn't charge him with murder or homicide. But here they convicted him. Now, regardless of what was said or who said what, there was no actual proof that John Sarver did anything wrong. Whether I call him my friend and whether he was my friend, that's irrelevant too. Basically, I met him once in passing, but I was friends with his sister. So, regardless of what happened after the fact, that's irrelevant. Where's the hardcore proof to even convict this guy? They needed just to dismiss all the charges. You could charge him party to the crime, but you got no one else on the hook for murder. You charge someone with party to the crime, that means there's someone else involved. Which, in my opinion, would be a police officer or someone in the DOJ, someone that has legal pull to cover everything up. Because we already know one sheriff did cover up one murder, so what's to say that the Department of Justice didn't cover up this murder and pin the scapegoat on John? And John's so scared that he won't give up the actual killer of this crime. Since we know there's no proof that he actually killed anybody, And his arrest charge, his original arrest charge, how they got an arrest was conspiracy to commit. Conspiracy was the arrest charge. That could be anything, okay? They don't have to have an actual charge when they arrest you on conspiracy. That was the charge he got arrested. It had nothing to do with me or anything I said. So I did some deep digging, and people know I dig deep. So but yeah, he got charged with party to the crime, which means it had to be an officer that did the killing because they don't arrest officers. Cops don't arrest cops in Wisconsin. It just don't happen. I've never seen it happen. Um, I mean, we got a witness to the Dieter Week murder. Uh, John Sarver has told me and a couple other people that Brian Ellenworth, the sheriff at the time, was involved in the killing, covered it up. I mean, he come forth with that right away. That's because Ellenworth is no longer sheriff, and he's locked up now. But Sarver's locked up now, so it's like, and he's in a different county, so he feels a little safer. I mean, like I said, they planted a seed in the public's mind, so when they go to arrest John Sarver, nobody make any squabble about it. For 40 years they've been harassing this guy. Couldn't even get him on a homicide conviction. Couldn't get him on a murder conviction. But how you gonna charge him a party too? Now that opens the whole book back up to who is the actual killer in. If he's a party to the crime, who is the actual killer? It would have to be a cop or someone in the legal profession. It completely blows my mind that they would even find a guilty verdict on party to the crime where there was no one else in the courtroom besides John Sarver in the hot seat, in the defense seat. It just don't make any sense. See, John is just accepting the conviction. I would be contacting some real lawyers. In my personal opinion, I think his lawyer was paid off by the defense. Because no real lawyer would allow this conviction to stand. And John is so ready to accept his fate because he's so brainwashed by the public and what people say that I think he's afraid to stand up for himself and say who really killed this woman. I think he's not just afraid, but I think he's scared. He's still scared. He's still going to be doing time for someone else murdering this woman, killing this woman. Now, there's possibilities of who it might be, but nothing evident, nothing concrete on who killed this woman. I kind of feel sorry for John because, I tried talking to him and he called me on the phone and, he seems kind of cool, but he's just so, telling me that events didn't happen. The events that I've experienced firsthand, he told me they didn't happen. He wasn't even there at the time those events happened. He wasn't even in those situations. I mean, his mind is so, because he's trying to protect these people. And like when I said Derek threw the murder weapon in the Wisconsin River, that situation, I was in that situation. And I was in that conversation with him. And so was a person was with me. There was a cop with me at the time that he also said that in front of. So, that situation did happen. But see, John is so confused by situation and stuff. I don't see why he don't just come forward and say who killed this woman. Party to the crime means someone else actually did the killing. They probably on party to the crime only because he knows who did the killing, but he's so scared and so afraid to say who did the killing. I could hear the fright in his voice when I talked to him. He wants to do an interview with me, try to clear things up, but I'm afraid to do an interview with him because he might try to take the rap for something he didn't do. I mean, he's so scared right now. You can hear the fright in his voice when you talk to him. I mean, these people have got him so shooken up and so scared. He's got to stop being the scapegoat for these people, for the killers. He seems like a nice guy, but I mean, I've got nothing against the guy. I personally don't feel he was even part of the crime. I think they know that after the crime was committed, he was told if he said anything, he'd get a bullet in the back of the head. See, so because see, he said that was told to him during the Deidre Week case when Brian Illingworth confessed to him, hey, that he was part of the murder and the cover-up. So I don't think that was the first time, and it was 4 years before they even questioned John Sarver of anything to do with Eleanor's. I mean, the whole thing just, it's too wishy-washy. There's too many variables to even convict John. Which means they know that he wasn't the killer if they got him party to the crime. But they gave him a sentence that fits a life sentence, and party to the crime wouldn't be a life sentence. It'd be 5-6 years at the most. I mean, they probably haven't sentenced him yet, but maybe they have. But if they sentence him any more than 6 or 7 years for party to the crime, there's more to this case than what they allowed the public to know, what they even allowed the defense attorney to know. There's stuff going on behind the scenes that no one's saying, no one's talking about. And, I mean, I really didn't appreciate when he accused me of, it's because of me he got arrested. It's not because of me he got arrested. They arrested him on a conspiracy charge. That had nothing to do with me or anybody. You know, that's really hurt me because I've been doing nothing but trying to stick up for the guy and prove his innocence. And put out there other crimes that I know for a fact that have happened by other people. I've done everything I've said in all my videos are true to the best of my knowledge. No, I might have a little bit, I might be off on a little bit of stuff, but I don't think so. I just wish John would come forward and say who really killed Eleanor, and get that, and stop playing these games to where he's got everybody thinking that he was the only soul. If he was the only sole person in the killing, why would they charge him with party to the crime? Which means the district attorney, the judge, and everyone, and the arresting officers know who the killer is, and it has to be someone very important in order not to charge them. The district attorney stopped the family from being arrested or even questioned for that murder, which tells me it was Lon or Marshall Roberts or June Roberts that killed Eleanor. And John knew this. John knows this. And in my personal opinion, I think the jury was paid off. Because I did some digging. 6 of those jurors, their last name was Roberts. Yeah. they are direct relation to the Roberts family, to the victim. It was all staged. I think the whole court trial was all staged for public view. That's it. They already they wanted to keep Big John. They wanted to pick him up and throw him in prison right now, but they had to have a trial first. Was the defense attorney, John's defense attorney, paid by the defense? I don't know. My opinion, a defense attorney that allows this conviction to happen, actually allows this to happen when there's no one else being charged with a crime, either he didn't care or, in my opinion, he was being paid by the defense to throw the case. But who knows? Who knows what the whole situation was? The whole thing don't make sense. How can you arrest someone for a homicide but only convict him on party to the crime? Who is the other person he was party to? What was the rest of the situation? I think the public has the right to know what the situation was before you start charging people with party to the crime. Who were the it was more than one killer according to what's been said so far. Someone out there knows what really happened that day. I don't even think John knows the full story. I think he knows about it, and I think he's scared to death to even say who the killers are, and that's why they charge him with party to the crime, because he won't give up the names. You're going to do some time in prison protecting people that basically throw you under the bus, John. Regardless of what was said, regardless of anything I've said or anything anybody else said. You asked me not to testify. In fact, your wife asked me not to testify. I didn't testify. I really didn't want nothing to do with the case. I stood on my legal rights not to testify. And because you knew if I would have testified to the lie that they wanted me to testify to, all I needed was that statement to convict you. And that would have been it. But see, I knew that statement I gave was a lie. That's why I withdrew it and didn't testify to it. Even though the defense was going to pay me to uphold that lie as the truth. And I wasn't going to, I ain't going to go into detail how much they were paying. Was quite a nice lump sum, but I turned it down. I was going to be part of no conspiracy or no fraud or nothing. When they told me, and then they threatened me that if I didn't testify, I would end up like Eleanor. You know, I was threatened by the defense, or not the defense, the prosecution. You know, the prosecution is the one that offered to pay me, and when I refused, then they start threatening me, telling me I'm going to end up like Eleanor. There's a lot more to why I didn't testify. The fact that if I testified, they knew I was going to expose all the cops, all the crooked cops that I knew of. And some of the real information about the Eleanor case that was never brought up. That I come across. That will have cleared John in a heartbeat, but it also would have put my life in danger by it. I would have never left Wood County. They were seriously thinking about, if I didn't play their game, killing me. I've been threatened several times by people in the DOJ up there. That's the reason why I stood on my rights, that they didn't do things legal to get me up there, so I stood on my legal rights not to testify, because I felt my life was in danger by the Department of Justice. That, in fact, I'm not going to testify to a statement that I found later was just a girl just venting and not realize she was irritated with her brother at the time. And I'm not going to, testify to something that was just bullshit, And But, and then when the prosecution started, the DA office up there started, oh, hey, we'll pay you to pursue that lie. And then they told me how much. Man, it was, I mean, most guys would take it. I'm sorry, I got my freedom to think about it. Man, I'm not gonna, you ain't gonna pay me to lie in court. I don't care if it is for the prosecution. And I don't care who it's for. I'm not gonna lie in court. Um, but party to the crime, see, this is where the biggest mistake, because on an appeal, any judge that does the appeal, take it to the appellate court. I think it's called appellate court. I'm not sure, but he takes the appeal. What he needs to do is appeal it in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court now will throw out all this bullshit, all this he said, she said bullshit, and get right down to the rock bottom. See, he could win the appeal if he takes it to the Supreme Court, but his lawyer, his defense attorney, I believe, is paid off, so they won't file in the Supreme Court. They'll file in the state court, where, of course, the state is the Department of Justice when they are all crooked as hell. I mean, how do you convict someone a party to the crime and give them a sentence of life, and you party to the crime on any crime is only 7 years max in Wisconsin? I can expose a lot of cops for crooked stuff I've seen firsthand. Conversations I've had with Derek and Candace, I have told people about. I have told in my videos. They're all true to the best of my knowledge. John tried telling me the other day that the murder weapon was found about 10 feet outside the house of Eleanor. But if that was the case, why didn't they use the murder weapon? Trying to debunk what I was saying about Derek throwing it in the river. See, and what it was if that were the case, why didn't they use the murder weapon in the trial? Because they didn't have it. They never found it. It was given to John to hide. John hid it at his mom's house. His mom told me that. His mom told the officer that was with me that. Candace said the same thing, and Derek admitted to me and in front of the officer that he threw it in the river. I mean, it's all been documented. But of course, they're not gonna. They really don't. See, that's why they ain't gonna. Now, Derek, that would be party to the crime after the fact. See, after the fact, by him throwing it into the Wisconsin River and not turning it over to police, withholding and hiding evidence, get rid of evidence. Now that would be a conspiracy charge, which in Wisconsin carries 30 to 50 years. So I mean, why they haven't arrested him, I have no idea. But that's because they would want me to testify to that. Now Derek, I don't mind testifying to, but I would do that only by via video. See, I wanted to test. They told me if I put this out before they offered me the money to testify. I said, "Can I do it by video?" They wouldn't let me do it from Illinois by video to testify in the Sarver trial. Why? Because they knew that I would expose everybody and expose the fact that the statement they want me to testify to is bogus. And they wanted me to be on their ground where they could kill me coming out of the courthouse. See, this is why I started looking up my rights. When they sent me a subpoena, it was a Wisconsin subpoena. I don't live in Wisconsin. So, I mean, oh well. That's pretty much what I got to say as far as venting. But John's got to get off his high horse and come forward with who actually killed this woman and stop being an ass about this. He's doing time for something he obviously didn't do. If all they can get conviction on him. They arrest him for homicide and give him on party to the crime. Think about it. That don't make any fucking sense. Oh well. I had to put this stuff out there. John seems like a very cool person, but I think he's scared right now. He doesn't know which way to go. He said he wants to straighten stuff out, but the stuff he was telling me was totally off the wall stuff. You know, I think his mind's gone. I think all this stuff has really. They need to let him go. He needs to get his family, pack up, and just leave the area. Otherwise, he's never going to be a decent person. He needs to come forward to someone in the Supreme Court on what really happened. Oh well. I'm Jim with Life's Adventures, keeping it real. You all have a good Thanksgiving and stay safe.